Welcome back to SewGnar Sewing Patterns channel. Channeling my favorite podcast. Any other armchairs out there? If you know, you know. Anyways, hello, welcome back to the channel. I am Nicole of SewGnar Sewing Patterns. Today's video, we are continuing with the SewGnar throwback series, and this is one that I haven't made on camera in a really long time, and it is such a fun, quick make. And this is always a class that I like to teach for complete beginners, especially with people who are reticent to practice with zippers. If they're a little bit nervous about zippers, this is a fantastic one for that. Sorry about the dogs. They are really on one today. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to record this intro. I don't know what their deal is. Anywho, the Wristlet Clutch. It's so simple, but it's so fun, and there are tons of ways to customize it. It's very minimal hardware, which is always nice for a beginner as well. And another thing that I love about it is it's great for my vending table. If I'm looking for filler and I want something that looks nice, that is useful, that continuously sells throughout the years, but is really great as a batch sew, I never look farther than the Wristlet Clutch. Now you'll see in mine that I keep it nice and plain on the front and back, but if you have a scrap bin, this is perfect. This is the best project for that because you can do all these fun little accoutrements on the corners. I go over all of that in the video, so I won't keep you. But as you can see, it's just a pretty straightforward pouch. But what I love about it is you can unhook the hardware here, and then you can attach this around things. So like when I'm grocery shopping, I'll put it around the shopping cart handle. At a show, I can loop it through my jeans loop. You can really loop it through anywhere if you want a nice hands-free but decent sized purse. This, I'm pretty sure, maintains the size restrictions for most concerts and things like that. But if not, then you can also make it out of clear vinyl, and it's perfect for a concert because it fits your phone, your wallet, couple cards, whatever you might need for a night out. This is perfect. It's also like classy enough to where you could wear it for an evening out if you have a girls' night or a wedding. Anyways, don't sleep on the Wristlet Clutch. I hope that you enjoy it. I'll see you at the end of the video. Later. First things first, we need to prep all of our pieces here. So I have two of my exteriors, and I have already gone ahead and added my logo here. I like to do that about 2 or so inches down and centered on one of the panels. I have my two linings cut and prepped, and I have them both interfaced with Decaville Light. I have one wristlet strap and one zipper. I cut it wider than my zipper panel to give myself some highway to work with whenever I have to move my zipper pull during the construction process. So I have that pull as well, and I have my lobster clasp. So this is a really fantastic beginner project because, as you can see, it does not require a whole lot of hardware, but you do get to play around with some new stuff. We will be using a rivet to attach the wristlet strap to the lobster clasp later on as well. This pattern comes with 6 different accent options. This is the one that I always love to do whenever I make them. I just love the angle bottom, but this pyramid bottom makes a really cool design. I love it if you want to do a nice, almost like half and half two-tone. This pyramid bottom is great for that. And then of course you have 4 corners as well. So a note about the corners, you want to make sure that you're cutting one right side up, and then you flip it and cut it right side down, so that way they are mirrored. Now you can put the accents on both of your panels if you want them along the front and the back. I usually tend to just do them on what will become the front. And the way that I differentiate is the piece that has my logo, it tends to be the back in my mind. Now moving on to talk about zippers, you'll notice I am using Zipper by the Yard in number 3. I really like the look of this on this bag. It's not ostentatious, it's very subtle, it blends in nicely, and I think I like the carryover from whenever I used to use YKK zippers whenever I first designed this pattern. Obviously they're very similar, but I do like the look of the alternate color teeth on these nylon zippers. But so you can use a regular YKK zipper, Zipper by the Yard number 3, or you can even use number 5 zipper. So here's what number 5 zipper looks like. It still looks very nice. I do love it as well. I just love how tiny and slim it looks with the number 3. So that's why I tend to use that on these bags. But as you can see, either works fantastic. If you are using a standard YKK zipper, you need to be sure that your lobster clasp will fit in between one of these little holes here. The way that this bag is laid out, as you can see, is it comes out the side and then it attaches to our zipper up here at the top, and that is how it attaches. Oh, it's full of cord keepers. That was a 12 Days of Christmas video. Cord keepers and bookmarks. Super popular on my vending table, so I always keep them stocked. Anyways, so that is something to keep in mind. You need to make sure that this hardware works well together. So to get started in the construction process, the first thing you're going to do is add your accents. So decide what you want to add. If you want to add any of them, you're going to cut them, and then you put them right side up on top of the right side of the panel. So it's going to stay raw edge along this curve here. But you can glue, tape, or clip this into place, and then you're going to stitch along all of the edges 1/8 of a seam allowance all the way around, top stitching your accents into place. Next, what I'm going to do before I move on, this is something that I like to do in all of my patterns. I cut my pattern pieces to the specifications in the written pattern, but another thing that I like to do is I like to lay them right sides together and grab a ruler or a straight edge and your rotary blade, and I'm going to angle this edge in, and what that will do is it will make the lining nest very nicely inside the exterior once the bag is finished. So I'm not too particular about this, but I start at this top corner here and I angle in about 1/2 inch. So I'm lining up my 1/2 inch line here, and I'm just going to slice like so, and then repeat that on this side. Now, if you noticed when you were cutting these out, this panel is already shorter than the main panel, so I don't need to worry about trimming any off of the bottom, but I do like to trim that off of the sides. We will keep one of our linings with us. Grab your front panel of cork, and I know that this is my front because it doesn't have my logo. I'm gonna grab my zipper, my pull, and some 1/8 inch tape. We need to add our pull to our zipper tape here, so I'm just going to burn this quickly and then thread this guy on. If you're new to Zipper by the Yard, do not use me as an example. I have been using this for several years. This stuff can be an absolute pain in the butt to put on whenever you first start working with it. But I promise, with lots of practice, it gets so much easier. Once you get your pull on and everything looks nice, you're going to grab some 1/8 double stick tape and put a strip right across this top edge here. I try to get as close to the edge as possible so that way none of it shows after I stitch my zipper to the panel. Just like so. Peel it. And then I like my wristlets to open and close from the left side, so I'm going to start with my pull over here. If you want it to open from the right, that's fine. Just switch it to this side. But I'm going to lay it right side down along this top edge. I'm going to turn it so that I have a better view here. And so this is exactly why I cut my zipper just a touch longer than the panel, is so that I can have the pull on and have it off of my panel here, so it is completely out of my way. So once you get the zipper in place, you're going to take another piece of tape right on top and do the same thing, just enough across the panel here. Peel. And then we're going to take the wider edge of our lining and lay it right side down on top of the zipper, thusly creating a zipper sandwich. So I'm matching up the right corner on my lining and my main panel and the left corner on my lining and main panel. And I have this bottom tapered section down here. So you'll see the main panel under here. All right, so once we get this in place, I'm going to scooch this out of the way and we're going to prep our wristlet strap before we go over to the machine. So that way we can just be ready to go. So you have a couple different ways of handling this. You can edge coat one of your long edges, the exposed long edge now if you want to. You can wait until the end, or you don't have to do it at all. You can use clips or tape in this process, or you can just fold it and hold it as you go. But what we're trying to do is we're going to fold this piece into thirds to create a 1/2 inch strap. So you fold one long edge in first, and then you encase that long edge by the other one, like so. So whichever process you want to use to get to the end goal, go for it. There we go. Now we are going to go to the machine, and I'm going to top stitch around all 4 of my edges on this strap using 1/8 seam allowance. So I'm going to start up here, go down. I like to sew down this open side first, and then pivot, and then back down this other side. And then I'm going to stitch across the zipper tape, the zipper sandwich here, and then I'll show you what to do after that. But I will bring my other 2 panels with me because this is going to come together very quickly over there. So you might as well be prepared. I am using Wawak Tex 70 thread, a size 18 needle, and a size 4 stitch length. After you stitch across this whole panel, you're going to flip just the exterior up and over, finger pressing this out of the way, ensuring that you have a nice even width here of zipper tape exposed. And then I like to just top stitch this side down. And if you want to, you can fold both of them and pull the zipper to the top and top stitch both. I just like the look of this better. It doesn't change the way that the bag works if the lining isn't top stitched, and I just find that it just overall just ends up looking nicer for me. So after you get done doing that, you're going to fold the lining wrong side together and finger press down and out of the way. And you can move this out of the way just for now. Grab your other main panel, and being aware of where your logo is, you want to make sure that you're putting the tape along the top of the panel. So grab your double stick tape and do the same as before, creating a zipper sandwich. I have my tape peeled, and now I'm going to take this entire panel, now that it has the zipper attached to it, and stick it down. And I like to make sure that my main panels are going to meet up whenever the bag is complete. So I'm keeping an eye on that as well. It looks like that. And then same as before, we're going to add a piece of tape here across the zipper tape, and then lay our lining in place. Okay, and then stitch cork vinyl leather side up. I just find that you have more control over it. And then after you stitch across this, we're going to flip it and then top stitch just like before. All right, so now we have both of our main panels attached, both of our linings looking like this. I'm going to grab my wristlet strap, and this is the side that I'm going to attach to the left side of my main panel here, and it's because this is where I started and stopped my stitch line. So I have back stitches, you can see I have longer threads, and it's just more unkempt looking than this side where it's nice and a cute little pivot. So what I'm going to do is align my wristlet strap in the markings that it shows on the pattern, and you just clip, tape, or we'll just clip or tape it into place. You don't, oops, throw your clips on the floor though. It's an integral step. So just clip it into place. And then if you want to, you can pull the lining away, and I like to add some stay stitches here just to be sure that nothing's going to shift around on me when I'm doing my final construction. And then it also gives it a second line of security for when the bag is in use. So just right there in the seam allowance, I tacked that down. So now, very, very important, open your zipper about halfway, 3/4. Fold your main panels together so that they are lined up. Add a clip or two to hold them in place. I like to check out what's going on with my zipper here. What you're looking for is you want these two pieces here to line up nicely. In a perfect world, that will happen. If it's not exact, that's totally fine. Don't stress yourself out about it. But I like to kind of roll my seams and my fingers until they meet up. If you want to, another thing that you can do is you can pop the zipper open on this side down here. And what that'll do is it'll make your zipper teeth lay flat against each other instead of like this. So it alleviates some of this bulk in through here. And you should have a less strenuous time bumping up over it with your presser foot. Okay, once you get the exterior clipped into place, you need to work on your interior. Now, once I have this exactly where I want it to be, I just kind of let this fall where it comfortably is going to. Because if you try to pull on it and stretch on it, make everything meet up, it's going to create some weirdness in other places. Now, to me personally, I would rather have my side edges meet up than my bottom edge down here. So that is what I'm more focused on. So once you get it clipped, I like to flip it to where my stay stitches for my wristlet strap are right side up. They're facing up. And that's where I'm going to start my stitches. So I'm not going to start my stitches here, but this is the panel side that I want to start my stitches on. So I'm going to pull everything down to where I'm on my lining, and about an inch or so in, I'm going to start my stitch lines, back stitching. So I'm sewing up, and then I'm going to pivot. And what this does is it creates a little L shape down here, and that will become useful when we're done and we're flipping the lining in on itself. I do this on every single bag that I make when I have to flip through the lining, and it is so useful for whenever you're trying to match up the lining pieces to get a nice seamless interior. So using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to stitch around the entirety of the bag. When you get to the wristlet strap and the zipper tape, you want to go ahead and add some back stitches in through there just for extra security. Now clearly you do not want to stitch over your wristlet strap, so I like to go into the interior and pull it through, get it out of the way. Sometimes you need to smooth everything back out because things start shifting and moving as you're pivoting. So just take your time and work your way around the panel. And you can see mine is not even, and that's fine. I'm not worried about it. So this is what it should look like now. You have your 2 L's down here. You have your 2 L's down here. Everything is nicely stitched. And this area where your wristlet strap is at has 2 stitch lines, so it's extra strength in there. And I'm just going to trim up just a touch. You don't have to trim super duper close, especially on the cork side. I am not going to trim my strap at all. Now the lining I do get to trimming, or I trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch. Down and around into that little L. Okay, once you get it all trimmed up, we are ready to flip. So we're going to go in through this birthing hole here, and you can see the zipper pull. So just push the zipper open all the way. And then what I like to do is put my hand all the way up to one of the corners. Right here, I'm pulling it apart, and then I'm going to push. I'm going to invert that corner in on itself like so to flip it right side out. Same with this side. I'm putting my thumb into this corner here and flipping it. Now, I personally like the look of a little beveled edge here. If you want it nice and squared, go ahead and use a turning tool and get that. But I always like to have those little bevels. And then you can push here on the zipper. And if nothing shifted, you should have even edges, which that's pretty good even for me. And then over here. And then just push all your seams out as well as possible. Now, this L that we stitched, what's going to happen as soon as we put our fingers in here on that seam line and we pull on it, you'll see it starts to fold in on itself. The Decaville light's pretty thick, so, and this is a really wide birth hole, but if it's a really short birth hole, whenever you apply pressure, it just flips right in, and it's the perfect folded edge. But we just help it along a little bit, and you'll see, once I get this other side clipped, how nice of a folded under edge it makes. Once you get that all pushed out, you're just going to stitch that birth hole closed. Now usually I would switch out to a coordinating thread, but ain't nobody got time for that. This is rare for me to leave an exposed stitch line like this inside of a bag. I do not like to do this, but in this particular pattern, it's a beginner friendly pattern. I specifically wrote it for beginners, and this is how you finish bags when you first start, before you get into like the technical tricks to hide these in pockets and things like that. This is for our friends who are just learning how to make zipper pouches. All right, let's go over to the table and flip everything, lay it all out. So to flip it right side together, or wrong sides together technically, but to get the inside into the exterior, I just kind of pull on it, create some space, and then start rolling this lining down into the exterior. So you just want to keep working it all around until it feels nice and snug in there. And now, when you look inside, you'll notice that it's not baggy or like crunchy down in there. It's a nice smooth interior. And that is why we taper the linings and trim the interior to be shorter than the exterior. So you just take your time, work your way around, and if you want to with these corners, you can just kind of gently pull on them. You can push them out. They're never going to be perfectly flat, and that's okay because I like it to match my turned in beveled corners down here. But I just kind of pull on it and just, you know, push it to where I want it to be. And then you can test fit, close the zipper. And if you want to, you can even make these corners more impactful by pushing them in, making them larger, or you can pull on them and pull them out farther. If you use the zipper tabs in this pattern and you add them to the top, then you will avoid these turned in corners altogether, but I don't mind the look of it, and I like that it's kind of similar all the way around. So this is what it looks like now, and we just need to add our hardware down here to this loose end. Because I bevel everything, I'm going to do that here as well. So trimming this up, trimming off my little corners like so, and I'm going to grab my hole punch, a rivet, and then my rivet press. If you're using hand setting rivet tools, that's totally fine as well. So you're going to slide your lobster clasp onto the strap and just fold it over. As you can see, I'm not measuring it. It's probably about 3/4 of an inch. But I'm just ensuring that it's nice and even on all the sides. I don't want it to be like that and punch a hole in it. I want it to be nice and even. If you need to, you can add a clip to hold it into place until you have more practice with punching a hole. But you want to punch a hole right in the center of it. Thread your rivet, add the cap, and then using whatever rivet setting tools you have, punch that into place. The last step is to thread your hardware together. Ta-da, perfect. Now what I like to do with my wristlets is I put them in my heat press without any heat, and not as tight as I normally use it to adhere stabilizer to cotton, but I loosen it up a little bit, but I just apply a lot of pressure to train this to stay flat instead of puffing up the way that it is. But with use, it settles in, and these are the perfect little bags for outings, if you're going to concerts. You can make this in clear vinyl and it would be perfect for a concert, grocery shopping, any sort of like Disney trip, anything like that. This is a fantastic little bag for it. All right, friends, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Here's my current lineup. I've got plenty cut out because I'm about to be back in my vending season. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button, and as always, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.